We talked about if life is common and intelligent life is common, conscious life is common, why do we never see any other alien species? Now, some people will tell you that we do. They come here all the time. Do you know what I mean? We have the Calvine UFO over there. We talked about it in a previous episode.
Tinfoil hat.
Yeah, but there's this theory as well. You know the great filters, they call them? The great filter is like, is there something about conscious, intelligent evolution that limits it? Is there like a hard filter on us that we can't ever get behind? We'll never become multiplanetary because something happens. Whenever an intelligent species evolves, takes over its planet, something stops it. What if the thing that stops it is that you can either have real curiosity and imagination and adventure, which is to pursue and explore, find new planets, find new life, or you plug yourself into a simulation that makes you think you've done it already? Is that the great filter? Is that anytime an intelligent species evolves, it eventually hits that option, and 99 out of 100 times it will pick that option because it makes more sense? And it does make more sense. If all that you conceive as reality is just neurons being fired in your brain, rather than chasing something that will fire those neurons for you, plug in and we can fire them from home. Do you know what I mean? Why would you waste your resources traveling the universe where you can just put yourself in a simulation that tells you already did? You didn't have to mine your, plutonium, your uranium. You didn't have to do any of that. You didn't have to go through the slaughter and the suffering and the hard work and the labor and the finite lifetime. You didn't have to do any of that. You just plugged yourself in and then you thought you already did it.
Yeah, but don't you think that humans have a sense of adventure and that would just be too boring? I don't think that would happen.
I
think
so.
Humans have that sense of adventure. You can jump on and play a video game and it's really fun to explore and stuff. But if they think about being the humans that were the first settlers, the first explorers, and they were going on that real life journey to find the new lands, like, don't you think that would be so much
amazing.
fun?
But if you could have that exact feeling, the exact same feeling with none of the risk of death, depravity, hunger, torture, all the darkness that comes with it, if you could just have the light, I don't know, man. I think we haven't been tempted enough yet. You haven't been given the option. Like, that red pill, blue pill moment in Matrix, I think is so symbolic. Like, we haven't been faced with the decision, really. What if I can say, all right, don't make a decision straight away. Just press this button. I'll show you for a year what this is like. I'll make you 21. You'll be 21-year-old Louis. You'll be healthy as fuck. You have no problems. You don't get tired. You don't get sick. Everyone loves you. You're a billionaire. I'll just give it to you for a year. And I'll plug you out and ask you if you want to go back in or not, if you want to live in this world again. Do you really think if you could honestly be there to the point where you're like supermodels, anything you can possibly think of is so real to you that you can't tell the difference? And I unplug you and say, all right, now do you want to stay in what this is? Or do you want to go back to that? Man, you don't need a lot of your population to say back in for your whole civilization to crumble. 50%, we're done. We're never leaving this planet, bro. We're never leaving this planet. If half of us can't pull away from that, we never leave this planet.
I think you're right there. I think that if you get a taste for it, it's very hard to go back. But I think that a lot of people, I don't know.
It won't be enough to make us interplanetary. And maybe that's the great filter. Everyone thinks it's like nuclear warfare. It's this, it's that. I think we can solve a lot of those issues. What we can't solve is the deep philosophical ones, which is, why is it more important to do it in the real world than the fake world? Why is it more important? And I could give you answers for why I think it is, and I'll probably still fail the test. As soon as you plug me in, I don't think I'm going back. I don't think I'd go back to base reality, bro. I wouldn't. If you can tell me that I don't have the knee pain, I can do anything I want, I can't tell you for sure that I come back. And I think of philosophy all the time.
Yeah.
Most people, they already can't. You tell most people that they're about to spend 95% of the rest of their waking hours on the screen, that thought won't terrify them enough to put the phone down.
Yeah.
So how would they have the mental strength not to...
Well, I mean, most people can't even, like, have the mental strength to get up and go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
So I think that if you could just go into
and you're jacked. You're absolutely jacked.
You look exactly how you want to look. Yeah, it's
perfect.
very, very difficult to go back.
And here's the thing as well. I can't tell you that it's not more moral either. And here's the thing. Let's say if you're plugged into the system and all it takes to keep you alive is the most basic carbohydrates, carbs, nutrition. You use the least amount of resources possible. You don't need a house. You live in a pod. You live in a pod, take up no space. No space at all. Yet you can be completely fulfilled. You don't have to make anyone else suffer for your happiness. You don't have to hurt anyone. You don't have to do any of these things, but you can have everything you've ever wanted. I couldn't tell you that it was more moral for you to stay in the real world and burn real energy, eat real food. I can't tell you that was better. Not when you think about, all the suffering that goes on just to give us the life that we have. When your phone's made by like a 4-year-old freaking Asian kid somewhere getting 6 cents an hour. Like, I can't tell you that it's better to have a real phone than to be plugged in and think you have it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you talk about that. It reminds me of this anime that I watched once called Gurren Lagann. And the concept behind it is, I don't know if I should tell you because you might watch it.
I actually might really want to watch this. If it's close to that idea, I love exploring this concept of this idea.
It is. It's similar, but it's not about technically being plugged in. But I don't want to tell you too much because there's a few. It's only like a short 30-episode series.
Yeah.
But there's
in that case, I will actually watch this. And we'll talk about it on pod.
I'd love to. Yeah,
it.
You should watch it. It's not exactly like Matrix-esque. But the reasoning behind what you're saying is explored in it, and it's very cool. It was one of the first shows that I'd ever seen, and it gets insanely. It just keeps making these huge jumps, and then, like, when it gets to the villain, there's like, I don't want to say too much, but the reasoning behind the villain, you sort of kind of touched on it just there, and I was like, that actually is very similar.
Yeah,
and I don't know, like, I think, you know what, watch Gurren Lagann. We'll do an episode where we break it down. We'll probably get another few viral clips out of that because I don't know if a great deal of people have actually seen Gurren Lagann, but it's such a...
that idea, I think I definitely want to see it because I don't know the answer to that one. I really don't. I don't know if it's better. I don't know if any time in, like, we talk about Greek philosophy all the time. We talk about, the Romans, all these great thinkers of our time, Nietzsche, none of them have ever been actually dealt that hand and have to figure out how to play it. Like the fact that you could have everything you ever wanted, hurting no one at the time, and you have to turn that down. You have to turn down paradise so you can, like, navigate your way through this world, which is full of suffering. How do you justify it? Why is it better? Can someone really give me a strong argument of why would it be better to stay in the real world when all these things happen? We know the injustices of this real world. The clothes on your very back are made through slave labor. Like, if you could somehow actually opt out of all the suffering, but still have everything you've ever wanted, it's almost selfish not to plug in. Like, morally, consciously, I don't think there's an alternative, and that's why I think it is the great filter.
You can make the same argument for eating meat though now.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing. It's horrible what we do to pigs and cows.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare to the point where I did try to stop eating meat for a while. It is a horrible thing. Like, the stuff that we need to sustain us causes a lot of grief and pain to a lot of things. But at the same time, we consider the path to liberty and freedom and happiness of a human to be more important than the suffering of other species. But it's not moral. It's not really moral. If you could think you were eating a steak without having to kill a cow, how is it more moral to kill the cow? And no one can really give me a good answer to that because I don't think there is one. And if that is the case, then no wonder we don't see aliens and high-tech civilizations, and because they're all just plugged in thinking that they're exploring the universe, because that's a better way to do it than to burn trillions of kilograms of fuel just to get to another planet.
Yeah, you're saying that, but like, what if it goes out in that like Terminator route, right? And then it doesn't need anything to sustain itself. It just becomes this machine
consuming. Yeah,
that would be fucking next level.
Yeah.
Like maybe
it's an Android-esque type thing.
Maybe it's androids. It's not actually aliens. They're just androids.
If you hear Elon Musk talk about this, and I love when he talks about this stuff. This is probably one of his best areas. The reason he wants Neuralink is he wants humans to be able to, like, keep our humanity and just weave it in with the technology. So in that way, like, you could have your consciousness. Everything means to be human consciousness in a body that doesn't need food, doesn't need water. Do you know what I mean? You could still keep the human spirit alive without those pitfalls that we just talked about.
Yeah. But don't you think that there's some relevance to pain? You kind of need the pain.
Well, I love that about Matrix. They say that in the third one, when he talks to the designer, the architect, that's what they call him.
Yeah.
He says that we did make a perfect Matrix. We made one without any suffering, and they kept waking up.
Oh,
that's a really, really good part to it. Like, they did make a Matrix that had no suffering, had no war, had no disease, but we kept waking up. We couldn't believe it was real. So there is an element of that, and that's a crazy thing that, maybe to make it believable for you, so you don't realize you're just laying in this pod, being fed a mush for some tubing. Like, the way to make it real is to give you that sense of suffering.
Yeah, you can't have a life devoid of drama. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it just gets boring.
But fundamentally, all the drama you feel, all the pain and suffering you feel, they're just neurons being fired in a certain way. And that's the most devastating part about what we think reality is. We think it's something real, but at the fundamental level, like, it's just electricity moving through your brain. Every single thing you experience is just electricity going through your brain.
That's why it makes it even more strange that things have come to exist for what reason. That's how I can see how
Yeah.
people go down that
Nihilism.
nihilism